if we were to compromise the credit rating of the United States and even worse, to default on the debt, I think that would have an adverse impact on the dollar's use.
President Joe Biden is going to be meeting with lawmakers tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern, right around this time, to discuss ways to avoid a default. Joining us now, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, along with CNBC's Sarah Eisen. Sarah, take it away.
Thank you so much, John Ford. And thank you, Secretary Yellen, for making time to talk to us today. Good to see you.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So you've been warning about this date, June 1st, that we need to raise the debt ceiling or else it could be a disaster, a financial catastrophe. Can you just walk us through what that looks like if it doesn't get done? Because so far, There's no deal on the table.
So our projection is that in early June, and possibly even as early as June 1st, the Treasury will run out of cash and extraordinary measures that we're using to pay our bills while staying below the debt ceiling. And so something will have to give. We just will not have, if Congress doesn't raise the debt ceiling, we just will not have enough money at that time to be able to pay all of the bills the government owes. And this would be really the first time since 1789 that such a thing would have occurred. And it's really essential that Congress raise the debt ceiling so that we're not in a position of defaulting on our bills. That's something that could produce financial chaos, would drastically reduce the amount of spending, would mean that Social Security recipients and veterans and people counting on money from the government that they're owed, contractors, we just wouldn't have enough money to pay the bills. And I think it's widely agreed that this would be a huge hit to the economy and really an economic catastrophe.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And you know I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And guys, we have Janet Yellen on the debt ceiling. Now all of a sudden they have a sense of urgency. We know over the past few months it was all about the banking crisis that we know was planned a long time ago. But remember, Janet Yellen said we were broke on January 19th. Now she comes out Sunday and Monday and turning up the heat when it comes to the debt crisis, and we know why. Now the stage is being built up because now we have Biden, the Democrats and Republicans meeting about the debt ceiling, something that should have happened back in January if this was so important. But guys, we know this is all part of a bigger plan, the fourth industrial revolution. I'm not worried about this year when it comes to the debt ceiling, but we know they have to start cutting back because we know how many countries are getting off the U.S. dollar. And we had Janet Yellen stating that if we didn't pay our bills, the United States dollar will be affected. Guys, we already know it's being affected right now. The same way she says there's no problem with the banking industry. We know that DeFi is definitely the new banking. It destroys its current banking model, and we know it's fee-based. We know blockchain tokenization and DeFi is going to cut out a lot of these fees, and then it's real-time settlement. You don't have to worry about an overdraft. And guys, don't forget, since Janet Yellen stated we were broke on January 19th, she's had her hands all over these retirement accounts, and that money has to be backfilled. Money that we already don't have. We know the NWO are the master magicians. We know the debt ceiling is nothing but a distraction. But don't forget, guys, in a couple months, we have Fed Now. And we know Fed Now requires a lot of liquidity. And with them coming to an agreement with the debt ceiling, we know that's going to shrink a lot of liquidity. So like I told you, the back half of this year is definitely going to be a movie. And we see Janet Yellen with the purple and pearls. And that's why it says she rides the beast. She's the one in charge of the money right when we in Revelations, revealing a new age. And we know that's the digital age, the fourth industrial revolution, where the robots, algorithms, and drones take over the economy. pay each other with crypto, and the sheep go inside the metaverse. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the New World Order, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
Well, you know, I would say that if Congress doesn't raise the debt ceiling, the president will have to make some decisions about what to do with the resources that we do have. And there are a variety of different options, but there are no good options. Every option is a bad option. And I really don't want to get into discussing them and ranking them because, as every Treasury Secretary has known, the only option that really leaves our economy in good shape is, and our financial system, is raising the debt ceiling and making clear that Congress stands behind the basic principle that America pays its bills. We're not a deadbeat country.
Yeah.
And if that's compromised, even in the run-up to it, if it looks like we're going to go up against the ceiling and may not get it done, that will have tremendously adverse effects on financial markets and the economy. So there just is no good option other than raising the debt ceiling.
I know you've been having nonstop conversations about this behind the scenes. Secretary Yellen report that you've been talking to business leaders, CEOs about this. I'm sure you're talking to members on both sides on the Hill. What's your feeling? We're going into this big meeting between McCarthy and the president tomorrow. 3.5 weeks to go. Do you think there will be a deal done, or are you pessimistic? It sounds like you're worried.
Well, clearly there's a very big gap between where the president is and where the Republicans are. The president set out a detailed budget. In that budget, he invests in America, he cuts wasteful and inefficient spending, and lowers deficits over 10 years by $3 trillion. But so he and I regard it as a fiscally responsible proposal. The Republicans have very different ideas. They want to focus on cutting spending, and the proposals that they've set out would entail draconian cuts and really end the policies we've put in place to invest in our economy in clean energy. So they're far apart. But look, we need to have discussions and compromise over fiscal policy, spending totals, and what spending goes for. That's a normal budget process, and the president hopes to establish a process for discussing and compromising on those issues. But he's not willing to do it with a gun to not only his head, more importantly, it's a gun to the head of the American people and the American economy, because a failure to raise the debt ceiling is really saying if the president and the Democrats don't agree to these draconian cuts, we're going to do something to bring enormous harm to American households that rely on the government and need to have jobs. So Congress needs to raise the debt ceiling, and we also need to have a negotiation over spending.
Don't reach a deal, and then it comes back to the president. He said on Friday night that he's not ready to invoke the 14th Amendment. Of course, the 14th Amendment says that full faith and credit of the United States should not be questioned, and the implications of that would be, if he invoked it, is the United States would just continue to issue debt, saying it's unconstitutional not to. Now, the president said he's not ready to do that, but it didn't seem like he took it off the table. So is it still a possibility?
Look, our priority is to make sure that Congress does its job. There is no way to protect our financial system and our economy other than Congress doing its job and raising the debt ceiling and enabling us to pay our bills. And we should not get to the point where we need to consider whether the president can go on issuing debt. This would be a constitutional crisis.
But is it on the table? Is it something that could be considered? Or are you saying, you just said there's no way this can be done without Congress? Is that a hard and fast position that the president will under no circumstances invoke the 14th Amendment?
Look, all I want to say is that it's Congress's job to do this. If they fail to do it, we will have an economic and financial catastrophe that will be of our own making. And there is no action that President Biden and the U.S. Treasury can take to prevent that catastrophe.
Like you're saying you don't want to, but you may have to.
Well, what to do if Congress fails to meet its responsibility? There are simply no good options. And the ones that you've listed are among the not good options.
Final question about the banking crisis. We've seen 3 bank failures this year. 2 more regional banks appear to be on the edge. Do you still believe that our banking system is strong and resilient? We don't have a systemic problem?
I do believe that. I believe our banking system has strong capital levels and access to liquidity. We've taken decisive action to make sure that difficulties at a few banks don't create contagion that undermines the confidence of depositors in the safety of their deposits in the banking system. And the tools we used previously, we would be prepared to use again if necessary. But while some bank stocks are under downward pressure, earnings have been under pressure. The banks have access to liquidity and are well capitalized, and I have confidence in the overall strength of the banking system.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
Cryptoteacher and the new World Order book, plus the 3 kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get home stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing they were still getting that free money, what are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID Stories 3. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.